Happy hump day or Wednesday or middle of the work week, whatever you want to call it, whatever you need to get through today. All right, let's go. It's the middle of the work week. So sometimes we have to slog through it. Other times we just have to fix the camera so it's not at such a weird angle. The thing is, I don't always leave the computer and the camera just sitting here. I know I'm making you seasick right now. I don't always leave the camera and the computer sitting here. In fact, I take the camera off the computer, turn it off, unplug it. I don't know if I believe that cameras have AI technology that gives them a mind of their own, but I don't want to chance it. And there are too many stories in my business about hot mics and hot cameras, even when people didn't realize that they were broadcasting or that they were live or blah, 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 whatever. They still can sometimes be communicators. I guess if our phones, hold on, I'm almost ready. I should have done that before the show. I guess if our phones can spy on us, well, then so can these cameras with all their AI technology. And after watching Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, I definitely am not messing with any kind of AI technology. All that to say, I think I'm ready now. It's the hump day. It's your middle show of the work week, and we're glad to have you with us here on All In with Amy Lawrence. We're going to try a couple of new things today. But Ask Amy Anything, it remains a staple. We started it week number 1, and maybe we'll look back, I don't know, 10 years from now, and we'll have another great streak going where you ask Amy anything. And producer Zach has been tinkering with some, it's funny, you used to call it clip art, but it's more just a graphic now with some bright colors so that we can signify, hey, Ask Amy Anything is here, using the orange to boldly grab your attention. So ask Amy anything, and you can find us on social if you want to weigh in, send a question. The neat thing also is that you've got the live stream with the comments available to you. And so you can send questions there too. And I know we get a lot of people that listen after the fact. So we also want to put out the opportunity on our social media. So at A-Law Radio is where you can find me on Twix, X, Twitter, all the twits, and then also on our Facebook page. So make sure you find us, connect with us there. We love the fact that we see the subscriptions to the YouTube channel going up every day. But I know many of you, again, you follow along on your own time, and that's the beauty of on demand. My mom is a great example because today, just a few minutes ago, I sent her off for her first day of school. And it is funny because that used to be what she would do with me. Now, for a long time, in fact, my entire high school, most of my junior high years, I went to school with her because she was a teacher at the school where I attended both junior high and high school. So we would go together. It's not like she sent me off for my first day of school. But of course, that's kind of the time-honored tradition right now for parents sending their kiddos off to school to begin a brand new year. And my timelines, my personal social media flooded with friends who are sending their kiddos off to school. And so I was able to do it with mom today because she and her dog and part of the time her husband have been staying with us since Sunday. They're having work done at their house. There's been no AC, which in Texas in August is tougher than my mom doesn't really want to tough it out, tougher than she wants to be. And so she's been here, and also her dog, who is a rambunctious boy. He's sweet and he's funny and he's a goof, and he and Flower go nutso in the backyard and sometimes in the house. They all get the zoomies. And then there's the mini Aussie who gets run over and caught in the fray half the time. So anyway, we've had a full house, and yesterday, mom had her first meetings to officially launch the school year, but today is their very first day in the classroom with kids. So, of course, I had to take a back to school picture with my mom and then shared it with the family group chat. She asked me if I was going to post it, and I said, no. Probably like that. I said, no, I'm going to send it to the family group chat, which I did, but I might also post it because I'm so proud of my mom as she gets close to 80. See, now she comes and she listens to this after the fact or watches after the fact. She's going to be mad at me, but I'm really proud of her that she's still working part time. She still teaches. She still is making an impact on youths of today, young people, more high school. So she teaches upper level high school math, like calculus, for heaven's sakes. My mom does calculus for fun. But if you have watched or listened to me for any length of time, you know that mom and I, we have a special relationship. She's next to my husband now, the most important person in my life, but she's been with me all the way through this crazy career track. And I am so grateful to her all the years I was single. And she is one of my best friends, but all the years that I was single, the ways that I leaned on her and, of course, used her home as a broadcast base for years and would have been coming to Houston or have been in the Houston area for years, using her home, using her cars, getting rides to and from the airport. And so mom's played a huge role in not just the career track, but she also introduced me to my future husband. So for that, I will forever be grateful. So have an awesome first week at school, Mom. All right. We have got a lot to dive into. We are not only soliciting your questions for Ask Amy Anything on this edition of the show, but we're going to start something new called Find Your Feels. And I think you'll like it if you are like me and you're a big fan of heart emojis or the smiley face with the hearts or the crying emoji, which I usually am because I'm a crier. I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm sad. I cry when I'm emotional. I cry when I'm angry. I'm just a crier. And so this is the type of quick segment or quick feature that we'll do on the show because it allows me to bring in elements or share what I've seen, whether it's online or personally, just a really special moment that is worth applauding. It's worth getting emotional for. It's worth sharing so that you can find your feels the way that I've found my feels. And so if you have those types of moments, let's say, gosh, I'll just use this as an example because this is kind of where the idea came from. I was, and I'm sure many of you saw the same video. I was online last week after, maybe it was the first week of the show, after the show, and was just looking around and saw this video that was posted by a news organization. It was a doorbell cam, and it captured an Amazon driver who had stopped on a porch and realized that the American flag that was hanging on the porch was all twisted up. Now, mine does that too sometimes in the Texas wind. I did that in New Jersey too. So every day I would check the flag to make sure that it was unfurled the way that it was supposed to be and that it wasn't tangled up on its flagpole or in a tree branch or something like that. And so this man on the video on the front porch, probably a ring cam, is captured not just rolling the flag out so that it is able to wave, but then after delivering the package and taking the photo of the package, like Amazon drivers often do, he stops and he salutes the flag and then he turns on his heel and he walks away. And it's clear that he had military training because he had the proper salute and he had the upright posture and the respect for the flag, and it went viral, as you can imagine. I'm assuming the homeowners shared it because it was their doorbell cam, but that gave me some feels. And it's that type of a moment, whether it's viral or whether it's something more private that not as many people have seen. But I think those everyday Americans who perform an act of kindness or who are showing their respect for the flag or for a person, something like that, without any expectation of being recognized. They're not doing it for a video. We all know what that looks like, right? People everywhere they go have videos. They want to make sure they capture the selfies and they've got the video moments that'll go on their Instagram or are going to make them TikTok famous, whatever it is, but there are many Americans and not just Americans, but most of what I'll end up showing you or most of what I see is American citizens. There are many everyday American citizens who even though they don't know that anyone's watching, they will do the right thing or they'll take a moment to help someone else or in this case, unroll a flag. Have you ever seen somebody who's walking down the street in your neighborhood who picks up some trash just because it's laying there and they've got a free hand? It's these types of things that I think should be applauded and lauded and shown. Now, it's a catch 22 because the man who unfurled that flag so that it could wave and untangle that flag and then saluted that flag wasn't doing it for popularity or kudos or to be famous. It's pretty clear that that's not why he was doing it. But there are people who absolutely have a camera on every little moment of their lives. And so when they do something that they think is worth applauding, well, then they'll show it. And it's clear whether or not it's actual AI, that it's been staged or that it's not authentic and genuine. Those are not the moments that I want to share, right? So the more something like this goes viral, the more that people are tempted to stage the videos or have this contrived moment that might make them famous or put them in the spotlight. Those are not the moments that we want, but there are cameras on pretty much every corner of society now. And so a lot of this stuff gets captured. I tell not only my nieces and young people that I mentor, but also students in my classroom that you can pretty much expect that most everything you do these days is on camera, unless it's in the comfort of your own home, because there are street cams. Other people have doorbell cams. I remember when I was in New Jersey, the next door neighbors, this is the neighbor with the crazy bright white light that lit up our entire yard and made us want to move. That's not why we moved, but it was a struggle with the town and this obstinate neighbor who refused to put a cover on this light. Anyway, we that same neighbor, we had this incident, and this may be why you put up the light, like I said, where he had their car. They had an older car that was parked out in front on the street as opposed to being in their driveway. And in, I don't know, 2.5 minutes time one night. So I would have already been at work. So I wasn't there when this was happening. But in the middle of the night, this crew came and stripped the car of its catalytic converter, jacked the car up, grabbed the catalytic converter from underneath the car, and then in 2.5 minutes, they were gone. And the reason we all know it was 2.5 minutes in the neighborhood is because the neighbors across the street had a ring cam, a doorbell cam, and it caught the whole thing. Not that they could identify this. I guess there was a crew that was going around stealing catalytic converters and parts off cars, but it was on camera. They just couldn't identify the guys who were in hoodies and masks. But pretty much everything you do these days, there's a camera somewhere, whether it's a hidden cam or whether it's just the ability by law enforcement, FBI, those types of agencies to be able to confiscate cameras that are private that they can use to then identify crimes or people who are engaged in nefarious activity. So there's cameras everywhere, not to mention satellites and all that kind of stuff. So we're being watched. But that's not a bad thing. If you have nothing to hide, I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily, as long as I can still have privacy in my own house, in my own space. But sometimes those cameras reveal heartwarming moments that will bring me to tears or moments that are worth applauding and celebrating, especially when so much of what we see online is a cesspool. So anyway, we want to try to do that every day. And Zach and I were discussing a potential name for it, and Find Your Feels was kind of what we came up with because we don't mind being goofy ourselves. So if you ever have one of those moments that you want to share, you can find us on our social media. Zach, if you want to throw those addresses up, we are starting to see more traffic on the new social media, which is fun because these are starting from scratch, like the Instagram and the TikTok. Or if you go to your favorite podcast platform now, you can subscribe, just search All In with Amy Lawrence. I don't even just send the link. You can just search for it yourself. And then the OGs, if you will, Facebook and Twix. Those are available too. And so I'm still figuring out the patterns when I want to do social media. honestly, you could spend 24 hours a day doing it. As Jessica Kleinschmidt told us on Monday when she joined us, she's pretty much obsessed with social media. Well, you kind of have to be if you're going to make it your profession, if you're going to be a social media influencer. But I do find that I need to step away from the computer. I need to get away from social media and the scrolls because I'll find myself doing I was telling my mom what doom scrolling meant. She was talking about how she will start watching videos on a particular website and keep going. And I said, yeah, mom, that's the algorithm that's trying to get you to doom scroll. And she said, doom scroll? It's like, yeah. It dooms you to a life of nothing but scrolling. You get sucked in. That's what they're trying to do. Anyway, I don't want you to doom scroll, and I don't want to doom scroll. So if you want to follow us on social, that way you know that the videos are coming. Something else that my family has observed, and I get it. I understand that this is an element of our society. We are ADHD as a society, and I don't even think it's Americans. It's just humans in general. And this is also about our phones and social media, and I'm willing to die on this hill because it's sad actually that as humans, we don't really invest much more than say a minute, 90 seconds. We like our news or our entertainment in bite-sized chunks. And so my mom's husband said to me, your short videos, because we have at least one short every single day, a short. I'm wearing shorts, but that's not what I'm talking about. We've got a short video every single day that we put out there on our Insta or TikTok. We also have them preserved, of course, on our YouTube channel. And he said to me, yeah, your shorts are popping up every single day now, and I'm seeing them. They're number 2 in my feed or something like that, which is great. And we're seeing a lot of traffic just on our short videos. But I run into this every day. Well, how do we get people then to watch the longer clips or actually watch the show? And I know there are a lot of people who listen to the show, which is awesome. I appreciate that because you and I were still radio junkies. But yeah, I don't want people to consume what I have to say in bite-sized chunks because I don't think it's as effective, nor can we develop a relationship and a connection as much with a 60-second clip. But that is also reality on the internet. And since this is a show that originates on YouTube and the internet, I suppose I have to figure out how to play the game. So happy Wednesday, happy hump day to you. I like to call it the hump show, the middle show of the work week. Get your questions in for Ask Amy Anything, whether it's on the YouTube stream or whether you want to use our social media. This is one element of August that I generally run into, and I never really have an answer to the question of how should brawls in joint NFL practices be handled. And there's another major, well, it's actually a set of brawls, not like bras, but brawls. There were 6 of them, I think, that were captured on camera between the Saints and the Cowboys joint practices on Tuesday. And of course, they're making headlines and people are watching the videos and the coaches are trying to figure out, well, how do we handle it? Brian Schottenheimer had indicated that, hey, I mean, we don't want this to happen, right? We're not advocating that these players on both sides go out there and start brawling. Kellen Moore, same thing, the head coach of the Saints. The issue is, of course, that you've got a lot of adrenaline. These guys have been practicing against each other for weeks. It's hot. Never underestimate the way that heat can cause our tempers to flare as well. I certainly can get hungry, hangry, hot, and cranky as well in August. And so here are these teams that are going at it. You've got guys throwing UFC moves. In fact, that this one right there is actually a notable son of a UFC fighter, or maybe it's WWE. It's one of those combat sports. And so he actually uses a move that was taught to him by his dad. Pretty crazy. So this is just one example of the Saints and the Cowboys busting out into a major brawl that pretty much consumes both rosters. You've got helmets flying, bodies flying, fists flying. I mean, it's nutso. How do you get anything done when you've got constantly whistles blowing and guys having to be separated? So I go back and forth and I see people inside the NFL fraternity, whether it's former coaches or general managers, who will decry then joint practices. Why are we doing it? What is the point? But the point is that you're actually getting a chance, as vanilla as it might be, you're actually getting a chance to implement your offense or let your offense run some of its sets, let your young quarterback or even your veteran quarterback run some of their sets against a defense that doesn't know what's coming. Theoretically, that defense hasn't been tipped off and they don't know what's coming. And it's especially helpful when you've got new coaches, new schemes, and again, you're just trying to run them or work on them against a team that doesn't actually have your playbook. So I understand that part. The problem is, of course, that if you end up getting guys hurt because they're out there brawling and somebody gets thrown down or has a concussion or, I don't know, breaks a pinky, whatever it happens to be, then you end up potentially losing guys. Can that happen in a regular practice where it's just you and everybody is wearing the same uniform? Sure. But do you want it to happen when it's a joint practice and it's an opponent? Absolutely not. I feel like that adds the insult to the injury, if you will. So again, I go back and forth. I don't know how you feel about joint practices. I understand the need for them, but what makes headlines, and here's again the whole idea of video. It's the videos that are making headlines, even though this wasn't the majority of the joint practice sessions. The problem is the coaches couldn't continue because they couldn't get these guys to stop sniping and skirmishing and going all in, if you will. There's a time to go all in. There's a time to not. They couldn't get these guys to knock it off and stop being knuckleheads when it came to going after their opponents. And so they ultimately kind of had to scrap what they were doing. So then it becomes counterproductive. It becomes really the antithesis of what you wanted. So yeah, Schottenheimer says we kind of agreed that if a couple of other things happened, we would cancel it, but they worked through it. So we settled into a practice and we settled into some schemes and some sets. But again, there's a discipline element to playing this football game. And unfortunately, we didn't handle it very well today. I like that. I like the point that Coach Schottenheimer makes, which is this is just August and obviously hot, but there are teams that are going to play in the heat. This is just training camp. We're just practicing. We talking about practice. Where is AI? No, not that AI. Allen Iverson when we need him. We talking about practice, right? So you've got guys out there who can't be disciplined or keep their tempers and their emotions in check during a practice. How does that bode for what's to come in September? Now, I guess if there's more of a fear of not just retribution, I don't mean retribution by the other team, though there is an element of that. You come after our quarterback, we're going to go after yours. You take liberties with the hand checking or the physical contact on our wide receiver that's breaking. Well, we're going to do that with yours as well. But I mean more of the ejections that might come if you take a pot shot at a player once the whistle has been blown and the play is supposed to be dead. So referees are watching, or if your coach benches you because you lost your cool and lost your temper. So there can be more of a fear of consequences if this happens in a game, where in a practice, especially if it's a huge brawl that consumes the whole team, you're not generally going to kick them all out. And I don't know how much these guys love joint practices. I think initially when they get on the field together, the guys who know each other are happy to see each other. And yeah, it's kind of fun to get out there and have something different, different defense across the line from you or a different offense. But ultimately, if you can't be disciplined in a practice, well, maybe that gives your coach pause about what situations he might trust you with during the regular season. But it's hard to know how much emphasis do you put on a joint practice when, yeah, everybody's doing it. So Cowboys and Saints, you're the latest. Come on down. At A Law Radio is where you can find me online. Also, our Facebook page is After Hours with Amy Lawrence. I know it has to stay that way. You've got the YouTube stream as well here. You can send your comments. We're seeing some of your questions for Ask Amy Anything, which will come up about an hour from now. If it's a first day of school in your family, well, that's exciting to be sure. You know, it's a first for Von Miller in front of the microphone being introduced as a member of the Dallas Cowboys. You will hear from Vaughn coming up next here on All In with Amy Lawrence on YouTube and Rogue Media Network.
Summer isn't over yet. Make every last splash count at Waco Surf. Catch perfect waves, float the lazy river, or relax on the beach while the kids make unforgettable memories. Stay in their hotel or private cabins, or hook up with your RV. Located just 90 miles from Dallas and Austin, set on 450 acres in the heart of Texas, Waco Surf is unlike any other water park around. Before school starts, give your family one more epic adventure. WacoSurf.com. Book your stay today and catch a wave.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Providence. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Farmhound's approach is a little different than a traditional treat company. We get to work with local farmers who are putting everything they can into regenerative farming. From the soil to the animals to the ecosystem. They care about how animals are raised and how we treat the earth. It's not just product, but it's part of that story. It's connected to just a whole lot more.
It's a hump day. It's my hump show. We're glad to have you with us all in here on YouTube and the Rogue Media Network. And Von Miller, whatever he does, he goes all in. It's pretty clear if you've watched this guy play football, even in the later stages of his career, that he doesn't do anything halfway. And that's one reason why I feel like I can identify with Von Miller. Also, he is a well-rounded guy. He's a good talker. He's got a great personality. And so here he is landing back with his hometown team because he's from DeSoto, which is a suburb of Dallas, I believe south of Dallas. I'm still getting to know my Texas geography. But Von Miller, he tells the story of how one of his first football memories is actually his dad screaming at the TV watching the Dallas Cowboys. I'm sure many of you can relate to that. And so now, as he gets to what may be his final contract, maybe not. We'll see. He's year to year, as many older athletes are, not LeBron, of course, but many older athletes, they kind of go year to year to see if they still feel like their minds and bodies can go through the rigors of a full season. Well, then they'll keep doing it. If not, well, then they can back out gracefully. Von Miller needed to find a new team. He was not walking away. He campaigned the Denver Broncos, his former team, his first team. He campaigned them to bring him back, but it didn't work out. And so now he lands with the Cowboys. And I think he's a great example of sometimes a closed door is actually the best thing that could happen to you. Not that the Broncos couldn't use his services, but now knowing where he is, being home, closer to family, and some of his other business ventures, it's clear that he's thrilled about this. And so he kind of tells the story about how this unfolded and that he's just sure this is exactly where he's meant to be.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's like that movie Inception, like a dream within a dream. You know, I always wanted to play in the National Football League, and then you play for the Dallas Cowboys. You know, we're just going deep. We're going deep with it. You're 16, dream within a dream. It's super cool. I mean, being here, I know a lot of guys already. Know a lot of coaches too. Being here, being in this atmosphere is surreal. So this year, I really wanted to be intentional with, you know, the decision that I made and what team that I went to. And it's crazy because I ran into Dak in Vegas probably like a month ago. You know, he was sitting in the high limit gambling. I just sat down with Dak and we just started gambling together and talking. And I was like, hey, man, y'all, it's about time for Dak. It's about time, you know, you got to break through one of these teams. You got to break through one of these years. I think this year you'll be able to do it. Like, you got everybody to do it. And that was, I didn't have any inkling on, you know, being a Dallas Cowboy. They just happened naturally. And then the Cowboys reached out, and I was just like, bro, this is a sign. Like, this is a sign for me. And, you know, we worked on it, talked to some other teams. But ultimately, you know, my love for the Dallas Cowboys, my chicken farm is here, my family's here. Just by being a Dallas Cowboy and wearing that star, it was beneficial to me and my family, and that's what ultimately made the decision for me.
Okay, we're going to get to the chicken farm in a second because I now live in Texas and there are a lot of chicken farms around. And so I'm learning more about chickens. In fact, before we bought the house that we have now, we looked at a couple of places that did have chicken coops. And I'm pretty sure my hubs would love to have some chickens and fresh eggs. I'm still kind of pushing back on that, but I am reading and learning more about Von Miller and his business, which is, in fact, Greener Pastures Chicken that you saw there on his hat. But I wanted to share another kind of exchange he had with reporters, which I think is neat. And I don't know if it's true or not, but maybe sometimes a 30-plus year gap since your last NFC championship or your last Super Bowl win like the Cowboys are in right now, it certainly can change perspectives. But there definitely is this idea around the NFL and around sports franchises that the Dallas Cowboys are entitled and that they think they're special and that their chicken poo doesn't stink and all of that kind of stuff, that they're America's team because they've crowned themselves and dubbed themselves America's team, and that Cowboys fans are a different breed. Well, Von Miller was talking about it in this press conference in which he'd said, because he was with Buffalo for a couple of years, could you imagine winning a Super Bowl in Buffalo? And if we ended up doing that, it would be a holiday there in Orchard Park. There'd be statues for everybody. But he goes on to say that's the type of organization that the Dallas Cowboys have. Fans of the Cowboys are in that same type of stream. They're not the same. Bills Mafia, Cowboys Nation. He what tries to clarify. They're totally different things, but the fans are diehards. And if we're able to win a Super Bowl for the first time in 30 years, I mean, it would be a story for sure. But if they're able to win a Super Bowl for the first time in 30 years and Von Miller is part of that, he says it would be a holiday in Dallas as well. And I agree with that part. I just wonder if it would be the same feeling as, say, the Lions finally winning a Super Bowl, because they've never won one in their franchise history, like the Bills, who'd been to 4 Super Bowls going back to the late 80s and 90s, but have never won a Super Bowl. And so could it potentially be a way that, you know, Dallas the humbling experience of not having gone for 30 years or even getting into an NFC championship, that sting is there. And the Dallas Cowboys fan base can still be the butt of a lot of jokes, like the Knicks, right? The Knicks for years have been the punchline to a bunch of jokes. The Knicks fan base, that's been the punchline to a bunch of jokes about teams that are hapless and ineffective and run poorly and don't have a snowball's chance in Hades of winning a title. Well, the Cowboys, they get poked and prodded, the fan bases, I should say, get poked and prodded by fans of other teams because they have high expectations and they're America's team, but they haven't won anything. And so if they would end up winning a Super Bowl this year or with Von Miller, of course, that'd be amazing because he's already got a couple of rings. But just this idea that the fans would make it a holiday and there'd be statues for everybody because it's been so long and the fan base is so hungry. And I would also add to that, the fan base has been humbled a bit too, because it's not as easy as what it felt like in the 90s. And Jerry Jones is desperate to win another Super Bowl before he, I guess, retires. He's not retired. There's a video that's going viral of Michael Irvin trying to teach him how to walk with his new cane. But as human beings, if we have the blessing of being older, getting into our 80s, maybe even into our 90s, well, you recognize, you come in, in touch with your own mortality. You come face to face with your own mortality. And so there's no doubt that Jerry Jones would just dearly love to experience that one more time before he either passes over the reins fully to his son and his daughter, or before he would pass away. Not saying he's going to die anytime soon, but just this idea that he really wants to win another Super Bowl in his lifetime. Maybe that's a better way to put it. But he'll do anything for that to happen. And it would be quite the party, no doubt. But yes, this 30-year drought, I think, has changed how Cowboys fans see their franchise and also see themselves. And no doubt there's been plenty of finger pointing too. That's something that happens every year during the NFL season. For now 2 decades, I've talked to Cowboys fans and tried to reason with Cowboys fans. And it's, the tone is different over the past, say, decade or so, because it's been so frustrating. And some of the near misses or the hope that they've built up over a really great regular season and an NFC East division title, only to see that come crashing down at home against the Green Bay Packers in Jordan Love's first year. That one was really painful, but there have been others. There definitely have been others. So maybe this is the year, as Vaughn told Dak when they were gambling in Vegas. All right, now to business and entrepreneurships and Von Miller's other professional hat. This cracks me up because sometimes we hear jokes about the types of courses that athletes take when they're in school. And Von Miller credits a course that he thought would be an easy grade at Texas A&M, which is an ag business school. It's one of the best agriculture business schools in the country. And I'm not only learning that, but I will say too that I am extremely grateful for the agriculture and animal acumen that is located on the brain trust, if you will, that's located on the Texas A&M campus, which is up the road from us. So we are southeast of College Station, where A&M is located, and northwest of Houston. We're kind of in a pocket there. Anyway, what I know now about these animal hospitals and the people who take care of animals, the teaching hospitals there at A&M, is that they saved my dog Flower's life in January. If you didn't hear that story, it was a doozy. We nearly lost her. She was in the hospital for 5 days. Now she is blissfully sleeping behind me here in studio against my better judgment. So every day I ask myself this question: should I allow her here in studio or should I kick her out? But she's been passed out and sleeping. Having my mom's dog here in the house has been a lot. They've definitely burned a lot of extra energy. And so she's here. I will forever be grateful to Texas A&M for saving her life. And so I think ag business and studying animals and veterinary medicine, yes, absolutely. Those are professions that are near and dear to my heart, and also I think near and dear and closer to heaven. So Von Miller takes this class at Texas A&M that's called meat production. I'm sorry. I know it's important, but I almost can't say it with a straight face. Meat production 101, which I have to tell you this story. My husband and I were sitting on the couch in the chair after dinner last night, and I hear my husband watching these videos. I'm not sure what they are. It sound like an instructional video of some sort. And I asked him what he was doing, and he was essentially watching videos of meat production, but for deer, as he's getting ready for hunting season. Good for him. We've got the stand, we've got the feeder. He's ready to go. I love venison, so I'll be good to go too there. But yeah, he was watching meat production videos. So Von Miller took meat production 101. He thought it was going to be an easy grade when he was at Texas A&M, but he had a professor who didn't want him to teach to treat it like a throwaway class. And so instead, this connection with the professor and this class, according to Vaughn, really laid the foundation for the company that he has now. It's an ethical chicken company. That's how it's termed and how it's viewed, an ethical chicken company called Greener Pastures. And he built it over several years. And he's got investors like Drew Brees and Patrick Mahomes. And their vision is not just farming that's sustainable, but also humane. And so he's a pass rusher by day and a chicken farmer by night as the co-founder. And it's based in Texas, and they produce premium ethically raised chickens. That's amazing. I can imagine those eggs are delicious. So yeah, the seeds were part of his education there at Texas A&M. The seeds for this business that he has on the side, they came from that meat production 101 class. He said he enrolled in it to boost his GPA, but he actually said he couldn't stay awake in class until his professor started singling him out and indicating that, hey, man, we're not going to let you skate through this class, Meat Production 101. I think that's amazing. And so often, one of the struggles, now there are many programs from the NFL, the NBA, pro sports organizations that now have programs, and they bring in speakers and they do seminars and conferences about how to help their athletes leave the sport leave the sport professionally, leave the business of sport, and then move to the next phase of their professional careers. And in many cases, it's about finances. Maybe it's real estate. Obviously, there are a lot that move into media now. I tell them, welcome to the dark side. Well, Von Miller is already in that space where he's got his next business venture, and he's able to then put more of his attention into Greener Pastures chicken. And it's awesome. It certainly is a lesson, I think, to many, and this is something he can share in the Cowboys locker room. It's a lesson to many professional athletes that while you have the funds and while you're on top of the world and you've got the name recognition, hey, find some partners, find some investors, start to build that next phase of your life, because football, basketball, hockey, tennis, it will come to an end. It will eventually. And the average pro sports career in the NFL, the NBA doesn't even last 5 years. But if you can get a couple of extra contracts, maybe one free agent deal that gives you that seed money, so to speak, it's monopoly money to me, but seed money, so to speak, and you can then turn around and invest it, well, you're taking care of not just your family, but the next generation. You can pass down those generational blessings. So sure, it's maybe a short few years in your life where you get to be a professional athlete and you've got to give everything you have to it, that grind, heart, soul, blood, sweat, and tears. But it can be a great foundation, and you can make great partnerships for the rest of your life. And I do appreciate that the NFL and the NBA, they're trying to train athletes and help athletes, business, what are those called? Expos. Like, when you would go to a college, a business expo, a particular company might be recruiting, or you have an interest. And so you can find an internship for a particular company or in a specific industry. And that's what the NFL does. They'll introduce their athletes as they're getting ready to transition out of football, they'll introduce their athletes to corporations who are interested in bringing them on board, whether as interns or as entry-level employees, or, hey, do we have skills that match up? And so as much as the NFL and some of these other major sports organizations get a bad rap for using players and then spitting them out, so to speak, once you're injured, well, you get das Boot. But they also do try to help enhance what's to come and to make the transition to their next business ventures. And that's really smart. It's really important. And there are a lot of veterans or NFL guys who are already into business elsewhere and already have, say, media companies or charitable organizations, whatever it happens to be. And they come back and they speak to current players to help them get ready for what is and what can be the shock of, I think, implementing not just a business plan or a new career goal that's more mainstream America, but also the shock of not having those adrenaline spikes and being around a team all the time and having the world-class facilities and people to guide you through every walk of life. When I was living in New Jersey and working for CBS Sports Radio, I was part of a program to mentor and walk with veterans who'd come back from their deployments or were getting out of military service. And the idea was that I would help them and guide them as much as I could through the process of leaving the military and moving to, whether it be college or higher education or into a particular job that they hope to secure or a career direction. In a couple of cases, so I did this with both a young woman and a young man. They were in their 20s, but they both had ideas, at least initially. They both had ideas of working in radio, TV, film. The young man wanted to work in production. So I was trying to help him understand how he might start his own company and connect him with people. And here's the types of skills that you need. And then the young woman initially thought that she wanted to go into media and then kind of changed her mind and went back to school. But it's hard when you feel like you've been in I don't want to say in a bubble, because it's not like our military families, they're not part of American society, but it's such a different industry and it requires so much of you. And it's very different than mainstream corporate America. And so that's kind of what these athletes are walking through in many cases, where they have to transition and figure out how to survive in a capitalist society that's very different from a locker room or a clubhouse. So I love the fact that the pro sports organizations are willing to help, and also that Von Miller has that wisdom that he can share, not just with Dallas Cowboys, but with other various NFL friends and colleagues that he comes across now, because he's doing it successfully with his chicken farm, which is unique. Glad to have you with us here on this hump day, this hump show. Ask Amy Anything comes up next hour, so make sure you send your questions on our social media. We'll definitely have producer Zach perusing those social media sites. I know I saw questions coming in already on Facebook and Twix, and also on our YouTube stream. So hope that you're navigating this week productively and smoothly. It's still August. It's still the dog days. It's still freaking hot. That is the case. But I think I'm getting more comfortable. Maybe, just maybe. I don't know. Sometimes I think I am. Some days I think, oh my gosh, I still feel like a fish out of water flip-flopping around. But whatever the case, I'm glad that you're with me. It's All In with Amy Lawrence here on YouTube and the Rogue Media Network.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
Summer isn't over yet. Make every last splash count at Waco Surf. Catch perfect waves, float the lazy river, or relax on the beach while the kids make unforgettable memories. Stay in their hotel or private cabin, or hook up with your RV. Located just 90 miles from Dallas and Austin, set on 450 acres in the heart of Texas, Waco Surf is unlike any other water park around. Before school starts, give your family one more epic adventure. WacoSurf.com. Book your stay today and catch a wave.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Provident. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us on our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
About a half hour away from Ask Amy Anything, so get your questions in. And I told you I want to start something new today as well, and I would like it to be a daily feature, a daily highlight on the show. We'll have to work on some production and figure out how we might dress it up or present it. Not necessarily that it needs window dressing, because I think these moments organically can stand on their own. But I've been reading a little bit about an LSU athlete who has been battling stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma. And she's 20 years old. She had found a lump in her neck after a small lump in her breast. And so the testing revealed that she had Hodgkin lymphoma. And of course, as a college athlete, you're in great shape. You think this is never going to happen to you, but she's gone through multiple surgeries as well as chemotherapy treatments, and will also still face some radiation treatment in Houston at MD Anderson. So I'm glad she's getting the best care. But her name is Riley Kuiper, and this video that I saw online that I shared myself at A-Law Radio, but I wanted to bring it and share it with you on the show as part of our first Find Your Feels, because this is what life is all about. Not only succeeding, battling something, like a cancer that you never saw coming and that isn't fair, so to speak, but also the victory of being able to ring the bell and being surrounded by a community, having people around you who encouraged you and walked with you and love you. And just the emotion of it is phenomenal. Love, love, love. So yes, it definitely gives me the feels. And the first time I watched it, I got teary. I could still feel that emotion. Just so excited for Riley. And again, if you want to see the video, it's on my social, but so excited for her that she has the opportunity to walk away from this. And I know because cancer and disease are no respecter of persons, sometimes there's no rhyme or reason to how or why. You can have young people, you can have people who are in great shape, and they still end up having to face a battle like this one. And a lot of her family members and her teammates and her friends, if I if I read it correctly, she's was in the transfer portal and has picked LSU to move forward with her soccer career once she gets on track and is able to play sports again at the highest level. She was a star in high school and played multiple sports and wants to continue playing soccer. Once she gets through this and is able to get back on the field, imagine what a victory that will be. But a 20-year-old, right? Or having worked with my friend Mark Singleton and his family after they lost his grandson at 6 years old to a very rare brain tumor. Life and disease, gosh, they make no sense a lot of times. And they're a great example of how life just sucks at times. It can be really hard and it's certainly not fair. And to see a moment like this, and maybe you have someone in your life, whether family or friend, who's been able to stand there and ring the bell after going through chemotherapy. And now we've all lost people to cancer, but I had a really good friend going back a few years that went through 3 rounds of treatment for breast cancer before it moved to her brain, and her body just got tired and she wasn't able to fight it anymore. We've all got people in our lives that are like that. And so to applaud Riley, so one of the reasons that I love sharing these videos is because they bring light into the darkness, where so much of what we see on the internet is gross. It's critical. It's dark. It's heavy. Even sometimes reading the news, I'll think, why am I doing this? This actually makes my heart heavy to see a lot of these stories. And there's tragedy, both man-made and natural disasters that are associated with everyday life. And it sucks sometimes. And the news, I think, unfortunately, it can be more about the salacious, and it can be more about those types of moments or situations that that attract attention because of their darkness in their very nature. And I hate that. I wish that it could be all about good news. And I think back to doing shows from my spare bedroom in my house in 2020 and how there wasn't a lot of good news. But we started every show during that COVID period when I was home with some good news. And it felt to me like people needed to hear good news. Well, it's still the case, even though, I mean, I'm actually working from home now too, right? But a different space, even though it's not COVID anymore and there isn't a global pandemic, we still are in desperate need of good news. And sometimes to shift our focus and see hope and see light and see faith. And Riley credits her faith for helping her walk through this battle against this stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma, to see community and the people who support her. And she's talked about how social media has made a difference because so many people have reached out to her. There is positive power and there are some great qualities of social media when we use it for good, but we don't always use it for good. Let's be honest. A lot of times it's just easier to pile on or to gossip or, as I say, to be a voyeur or a rubbernecker when someone's life is crashing. I think there's a great example of that with the actress Hayden Panettiere, who passed away. And we don't know all the details, but at 36 years old, just shy of 37, she revealed a lot of the details in a new memoir and recent interviews that she's done. How sad that her family was disjointed and dysfunctional. Not that we don't all have some kind of dysfunction in our families. I'll be the first to say that in my own family, but the addiction and the way that she was treated in Hollywood and as successful as she was in her career ventures, even going back to when she was a child and Remember the Titans, she wasn't cared for properly by adults who were not looking out for her best interests. And it led her into addiction. And sometimes we just don't battle our demons successfully. And so there's a lot that's sad and broken and painful on the internet. And because it's so all access, we a lot of times are following along, as I say, like voyeurs watching these train wrecks. So I want to be someone who brings positive and hope. And I love the element of faith. Of course, if you know me at all, you know that I'm all about faith and being a follower of Jesus and love God and want to share that. And this opportunity that we have here on this show, especially with moments like this where we can find our feels, it's going to be positive. It's going to be good news. It's going to be worth celebrating. And that's definitely something that I want to bring to this space. It may not reach a lot of people. It may not. It may just be one person out there. Maybe I'm the only one today that's excited about Riley, but I at least want to try to swim upstream like a salmon does when he goes back to spawn. Or I guess it's she, when she goes back to spawn like a salmon. Now, watch out for the grizzlies. There are a lot of waterfalls that we've got to climb and grizzlies we have to avoid. And that's what the internet is like. But I'm going to try. And I do love that this space gives me freedom where I can bring in conversations like Matt the Musher and talk to Jesse Bradley, who's the Sounders chaplain, and just be happy and laugh and enjoy conversations with people that matter to me, but also to share these moments with you that I hope will give you a jolt of joy and also can encourage you depending upon where you are in your life and what you're going through. So we'll call it Find Your Feels just to be kind of cutesy, but congratulations to Riley. I will be following her story because a lot of it's out there on social now. And she even says, this is kind of funny. It's so typical of the internet, but it maybe in this way we can term it positively. I had maybe 80 followers before being diagnosed with cancer. The video that she did on TikTok about her cancer journey starting in April has been viewed by millions of people around the world now. So it's gone viral. And she said, my TikTok account blew up and people asked questions about my illness. And she said, I've had just so much support and people who've been wonderful in walking this journey with me. So I'm glad that it's been positive in Kylie's life. And again, if you want to see that video, it's on my social at ALaw Radio. And while you're there, you can send your questions for Ask Amy Anything. Let's find our feels on this hump day. I know that's goofy, but that's what Zach and I like. We think it's kind of goofy. And so we'll find some fun production or maybe some music to go along with it. Yeah, 20 minutes away from Ask Amy Anything here on, goodness, our hump day edition of All In with Amy Lawrence, YouTube, and the Rogue Media Network.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
Farmhound's approach is a little different than a traditional treat company. We get to work with local farmers who are putting everything they can into regenerative farming. From the soil to the animals to the ecosystem. They care about how animals are raised and how we treat the earth. It's not just product, but it's part of that story. It's connected to just a whole lot more.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Turn on the mic. How about that? I did it this time before I started talking. Funny thing, this used to happen all the time in my radio studio because I tell my producers, it's a little bit ironic, but I tell my producers that I just want to control my mic. I don't care what other buttons, bells, and whistles you've got going on in there, but I want to be able to turn my mic on and off. So don't touch the mic button. I will do it. But then what happens is I get all excited about starting a new segment and I've got something on my mind I want to say and then I'll forget. Now, in a radio studio, you can't see me when I open my mouth and I say something, but you don't hear it because my mic is not on. Well, then no harm, no foul. But in the case of this amazing little camera that's staring at me 24/7. If you see me start talking and nothing comes out, well, then that faux pas is on camera. And there goes the perfect show. I don't think I've had one yet. 30 years of broadcasting. I'm not sure I've had one yet, but I will sure keep trying. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the Home Show, going all in with your Asking Me Anything questions. We've seen a few that have popped up on our comments section here on YouTube and also some that have been sent via our social media. And wait, hold on. Pause that thought. Oh, you need to go out, do you? I knew it. An hour is about the longest that Flower is going to stay quiet. I knew it. Okay, so when we get to... Hi, Bubba. Oh my gosh. If you listen closely enough, you might hear her tail banging against the cabinet that is on my right. So here's what we're going to do, producer Zach. We can do this. I feel like, again, in a radio studio, this kind of stuff happens all the time, but you can't actually see what's happening behind the scenes. Oh, I just thought it was fun as we get ready because pretty soon it's going to be about Monday morning quarterback and breaking down what we saw on Sunday on the NFL gridiron near you. So that'll be fun because quarterbacks, they get far more of the attention and they also absorb too much of the blame. So even as we are practicing for our football coverage and our football analysis on a Monday and gosh, it continues throughout the work week. There are two quarterbacks that are getting a lot of attention, maybe even more attention this preseason than what you would normally expect for a QB. Baker Mayfield has been in the news because of the fact that he did not get the contract extension that he desired, the offer that he felt was respectful. Watch out, Jaden Daniels. Baker Mayfield felt disrespected. That was the word that he used by the contract offer that came from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, it may be that they're not sure yet that they still want to keep their wagon hitched to his star because they didn't win the NFC South last year, even though there wasn't a team in the division that finished above 500. And so it was a mess. It's still a mess. I'm not sure any team actually wants to win the NFC South. And so I can understand why they're maybe a little hesitant slow on the uptake when it comes to offering him a contract that would solidify him as their quarterback of the now and the future. Though I say this, I'm not sure where you go. If it's not Baker Mayfield, then who? And we know that teams get stuck all the time where they think, the grass is greener on the other side. I don't know what side of the fence will go for our next quarterback, but we're going to go ahead and try, and we'll let this guy walk. And then you end up with nothing or with a stopgap measure. And that's also not the place they want to be in. But the reports out there indicate that he was given a 2-year offer. And that was kind of the disrespectful part. Also, that it wasn't even let me use my air quotations, wasn't even $50 million per year, where most of your above average quarterbacks now are making greater than 55 million or somewhere in that neighborhood, 53 to 56 million. Dak Prescott, he didn't end up resetting the market, though he's got a contract that pays him 60 million per year. And right now he's highest paid. So Baker Mayfield had indicated to the Bucs that, well, they were going to regret this and that they were going to have to pay. And I've said this before, I hope he means they're going to pay in a money sense, not pay like a mob and mafia sense. But he's determined to go out there and just prove that even with the transition around the Buccaneers, so no Mike Evans, they no longer have Levante David. They've got a bunch of guys, even in Vita Vea, wanting a trade, which the Bucs aren't necessarily going to honor that request. But they've got a bunch of transition and change that Baker still thinks that they can be a team that makes some noise. And so even as he matures, he hasn't lost his bravado, his confidence, his boldness. And I'm glad that he's not in front of the microphones putting the Bucs on blast. Instead, he's all about the we and the us now and what they might do this season.
You get your guys, and it's just the Bucs against everybody else in that city you're going to. And so I think it's a good opportunity for us against the Bengals. And I think we're going to shock a lot of people this year. And so I'm excited to just get on the road and do that.
Anything else? You're going to surprise people? You say you're going to shock people?
Yeah, I mean, listen, embellish it. There's no embellishing. I think you can't avoid it. There's the TVs everywhere. I think everybody's, yeah.
Good for you, Baker Mayfield. Also, I feel you when it comes to having to wipe your nose or make some type of sound that not so attractive, and yet there's not really a whole lot you can do. However, you're going to be so proud of me. While you all were listening and watching Baker Mayfield, I was able to open the door and let the dogs, O-U-T, get out. They were actually anxious to get out because the room is pretty small and they had enough being cooped up. So if you start to hear barking, Tucker, my mom's dog, is still here too. Whatevs. It's just part of working from home and not in a big studio. But back to Baker. He's obviously now settled into, okay, it's a long season. We got a lot of work to do, but don't underestimate us. Don't count us out. And as I go back to the season that was last year for the Bucs, they started out like a house on fire, and then they ended up going through a stretch where, don't quote me on this, it was like 4 or 5 losses in a row. And so they hit the skids with their offense, and they did have some injuries, of course, that can change everything. They had some injuries that kind of derailed what they were able to do offensively and certainly through the air. And so for a bit there, it was really a struggle. It was the obvious problem for Baker Mayfield and his receiving core, or just the passing numbers, that they weren't able to get a whole lot going through the air. And so if they can stay healthy, that changes a lot, because this division still is wide open. Last year, you had the Panthers, the Buccaneers, the Falcons all finish at 8-9. And then the Saints were a few wins behind that. They were in the basement, but the Saints, there are some people who think they're up and coming, although Alvin Kamara, yet again, injured, MCL injury, and going to be out for at least a month. So he's having trouble staying healthy, but they like their young quarterback and Tyler Shuck, and feeling like now they've handed the reins to him, and Kellen Moore with 1 year of head coaching under his belt. So there's a lot of optimism in that front office. that division's wide open. So in terms of the Buccaneers surprising people, I mean, I will be surprised if they are a Super Bowl contender or if they come out roaring. We'll see, because they've got to navigate a bunch of changes too, and also an unhappy Vita Vea and the fact that he still has indicated that he wants a trade. But if you got to go through transition, well, the NFC South is the place to do it, where the Panthers won that division last year at just 8-9. Okay, now so contrast that, a veteran quarterback who is kind of over it with the media. He said his piece earlier in preseason or in training camp in which he put the Bucs on blast, and he was animated and he had a lot of passion about how the Bucs are going to have to pay because I'm betting on myself. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but I've got something to prove now. And Baker does definitely operate well when he has a major chip on his shoulder. So the Bucs are in a different space than are the Vegas Raiders. But just contrasting the veteran QB that is Baker Mayfield, who's been around the block a bunch and has been both on the upside as well as the downside of the business of football, where he got booted by the Cleveland Browns, had an injury, playing through an injury, numbers went down in what was his third season, right? Maybe, I think it was his fourth season he was still in his rookie contract with the Cleveland Browns. And even though he'd started out like a house on fire, just not playing as well because he was playing with an injury. And of course the Browns, they're like to eat quarterbacks and spit them out. And so he was struggling there, and the Browns decided to go with Deshaun. So he ends up in Carolina. That doesn't last for a full year. Then he's with the Rams. He has that major Monday Night Football rally in which he leads them on national TV to this big victory in his first game. As Sean McVay likes to say, he'd been with us for all of 5 minutes and somehow managed to lead us on a come from behind track and a big win on Monday Night Football. But then that wasn't going to be the permanent solution, of course, because the Rams had Matthew Stafford. And so he lands post Tom Brady with the Buccaneers. And so he's seen a lot of life in the NFL, and you can see there's definitely that kind of veteran inhibition. Does that make sense? Where he's not going to give you a whole lot. He said his piece already about his contract, but yeah, he's pretty guarded and he's careful, and also he's kind of over it. Well, that's the exact opposite of Fernando Mendoza. And I saw this clip. There's so much we could like about Fernando and his press conferences, but a friend of mine, Sean Pendergast, who is with Houston local radio, sports radio 610, but also the Fan now 95.7, I believe, is their local FM signal as they make the transition. But Sean, a good friend, and I saw this on his social media where he termed this a TED Talk from Fernando Mendoza, because the guy just is so eager and he's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, the opposite of a veteran quarterback like a Baker who's been through so much. He's got a lot of mileage on. Oh no, Fernando is as eager and as excited as they come to get started in the NFL.
Yeah, I would say that it is tough. However, everything that is tough, you wouldn't want something to be easy. If it's tough, it's worth it, and that's why it works at the highest level. And it's great because the teammates, we rely on each other. We rely on the receivers to make the right timing and right route. The receivers rely on the quarterback to throw in the correct timing. The linemen rely on the quarterback to get it out on time. The quarterback rely on the lineman to give them that time to throw it. And then the tight end, I mean, there's so many different variables of it. And when we all rely on each other, I believe it makes us closer. And when we become one oiled unit and we have all this synergy and become a dynamic ecosystem where we're evolving together, playing on time, be able to make, and then still make some off-schedule plays, but mostly playing on time, then that's what teams in this system take the next level.
From your perspective.
Seriously, he is so eager and so enthusiastic and so excited and so green. But I'm not laughing at him. I am a huge fan of Fernando Mendoza. I love the fact that he's not jaded by the business. I enjoy hearing from him. And as a young person who certainly has been in that space before, I was going to say young woman, I didn't want you to think I'm terming myself a young woman right now. No, I'm old. But as a young person who can be, who remembers being so exuberant and so excited and so enthusiastic, sometimes now I'm tempered, though I still say that's my calling card. But I remember being in that space with Fernando where, yeah, I everything was still amazing. I was so excited. And whether it was talking about my career and radio and just wanting to share my joy over it, or even going back to my days playing college basketball. It's different when you're younger and you don't have as much experience. And I remember that when I was younger, people called me an optimist. I would not call myself that anymore. As much as I can be an idealist and as much as I can also be naive and not so much a realist, definitely time changes you and you get to be weathered, and your maturity, your experience, that wisdom that comes with it. I hope it doesn't ever take away from my hope. I always want to have hope, but I love his youthful energy and exuberance. And it's just such a contrast with Baker Mayfield, who's much more controlled, who's just kind of, hey, this is part of the deal. And maybe at some point, Fernando gets tired of the microphones in front of his face and feels like, man, the last thing I want to do right now after a practice is talk to somebody about, I don't know, answer this question, answer that question, talk to somebody about the interception I threw, or why our team got pounded again, or what our offense didn't do well, or what happened on the sidelines. But right now, he is so excited to play football, and that bubbles out of him. He's percolating, and he can't wait to get on the football field. And so I'm excited for him. And I know that his debut in the NFL will be a much talked about and much anticipated event. I hope it happens this season. Not that I want Kirk Cousins to get benched, but I'm just anxious for Fernando to get his opportunity in the NFL. But right now he's soaking it all up. And here he is. As I say, my thanks to my friend Sean in Houston, who terms this a TED Talk, because he's essentially giving you kind of the prototype for team football on the offensive side of the ball. And just, full of energy and enthusiasm, and this is going to be the best day ever. And I hope that the Raiders don't ruin that. I hope that the Raiders don't beat that out of him. I do think Derek Carr was a lot like that when he got to the Raiders, and generally is very much an optimistic person, loves his teammates, finds joy in working with a group of men toward a common goal. But the nature of the beast with the Raiders organization changed Derek Carr a bunch too. And so I hope that Fernando is the beginning of a changed and a new era that's being ushered in, where the Raiders do things differently and they're back on the uptick, and it's not as bleak and dark as it's been. I think if anybody can help to lead them into the next era, it would be Fernando Mendoza. And he gets to learn from Tom Brady too, but just a microphone in front of his face, and he gives us all some tips on how the well-oiled machine is supposed to work. Again, I'm not laughing at him. I'm laughing with him, because I feel like the NFL needs more of that. Grizzled veterans, they don't necessarily approach the media availability with that same exuberance. So good for you, Fernando Mendoza. All right, couple of minutes left before we get to your questions for Ask Amy Anything. So you can send them to our social media, also here on the YouTube stream. I've seen a few already. I am very excited. I'm going to have that same exuberance as Fernando Mendoza does to answer your questions on this edition of All In with Amy Lawrence, YouTube, and the Rogue Media Network.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Provident. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Summer isn't over yet. Make every last splash count at Waco Surf. Catch perfect waves, float the lazy river, or relax on the beach while the kids make unforgettable memories. Stay in their hotel or private cabin, or hook up with your RV. Located just 90 miles from Dallas and Austin, set on 450 acres in the heart of Texas, Waco Surf is unlike any other water park around. Before school starts, give your family one more epic adventure. WacoSurf.com. Book your stay today and catch a wave.
Welcome to Kitbag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, we've got your team's colors running through our veins. From official replica kits to custom player prints of your favorite stars like Ronaldo, Messi, and Kane, Kitbag is your one-stop shop for all things football. Powered by Fanatics, we deliver to over 180 countries, ensuring you get the gear you need fast. For true football passion, think Kitbag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's kitbag.com. Kitbag.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
Circulon C1 Series Clad with Scratch Defense Non-Stick. The luxury and confidence of premium clad stainless steel meets Scratch Defense Extreme Non-Stick that won't scratch, ever. With an ultra-thick aluminum core for high-performance heating. Maximize cooking, minimize cleaning. Discover the unmatched durability and elegance of clad stainless steel. Scratch-free, worry-free, forever.
I really enjoy Ask Amy Anything because I get to share stories a lot of times, personal stories. Last week, it was a story about this piece of hardware that's up here on the top shelf. And I get to share the other sides. Actually, it's not two-dimensional. The other sides of me away from sports. And it is a lot of fun in this format, too, where sometimes I can show props. We had Flower Friday last week, and I was able to show you not just actual flowers, but our dogs who are named after flowers. So it's fun to do it this way. We're just getting into it now. Third edition of Ask Amy Anything. And we've got banners up on social now, and we continue to believe that you all will find us. If we build it, you will come, you will show up. So producer Zach, what have we got for our questions on this edition of the Hump Show?
So I'm going to start with one that we got here in the YouTube feed that I thought was a phenomenal question from Elmer, who asked both of us, but if we had ever been to Allen Fieldhouse, Arrowhead Stadium, or Royals Stadium.
Well, actually, I'm not sure what your answer is, but I've been to all three, but very different circumstances. Royal Stadium, I went to a game. I enjoy going to different baseball stadiums. It's actually Kauffman Stadium, right? So I went to a game. Arrowhead Stadium, I've been there for work twice. Okay, so on one occasion, this was crazy. It's the only time I've ever been in an empty NFL stadium, but I was working for a local radio outlet in Oklahoma, believe it or not. And the owner of the radio station had a connection somehow with the owner, maybe not the owner, with someone who worked at Arrowhead. And he was able to get me into their radio booth. So the radio booth where they broadcast the games from, he was able to get me into the radio booth for a Friday morning show. There was no one except the security guard who let me in and me in this entire stadium. And so I did my morning show on scene there. My co-host was back in our studio in Oklahoma, and I was in Arrowhead Stadium. in the dark initially until the sun came up and it started to shine on the field. It was surreal to be in a stadium that large and that awesome and be the only person there and to be doing a morning radio show. So that goes back, gosh, into my 20s. So as you can imagine, it was even more spectacular that early in my career. The next day, or yeah, I think it was the next day. It was a Saturday Big 12 championship and it was cold. Now, this was December. So the Big 12 championship was held there between Kansas State and Oklahoma, which is part of the reason that we were covering it as a morning show.
Is that the Darren Sproles game?
Good question. I'm not sure I remember.
I'll look that up.
Okay, many of the details, but I do know this. I was on the sidelines for the first half of the game. First of all, I've never heard a crowd quite like that. The noise from a full Arrowhead Stadium it's energetic, but it's crazy. Sometimes you can't hear yourself think. And the stadium was cut in half between the crimson and cream and the purple and white of OU and then Kansas State. But here's the other part that I remember. Maybe this is why I don't remember a lot of the details about the game. By halftime, I could not feel my feet. It was so cold on the field, on the sidelines, that I could not feel my feet in my shoes. And I had to retreat to the press box during the second half because my feet were about to have frostbite and fall off. So that was my memory of Arrowhead Stadium. It was an amazing atmosphere. And I can tell you firsthand how loud it gets there. And this was a stadium that was divided. So not even a full stadium of Chiefs fans who make that an incredible NFL home field advantage. Now, Allen Fieldhouse, which is in Lawrence, Kansas, that's the KU Rock Chalk Jayhawk. That's their facility. I've never been there for a game, but I was in Lawrence for some other reason. I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was to cover a football. Actually, I think it was to cover a football game back when I was again, in Oklahoma, working local radio, and I would travel around and go to various stadiums inside the Big 12. And I was there and decided that I would try to sneak into Allen Fieldhouse because, of course, you hear about it as a mecca, a hallowed ground in college hoops. And I did. Now, this was when Roy Williams was there. So I found a door that was open. I get into the concourse and I hear voices coming from the basketball court. So I walk around the concourse. No one saw me. I just was minding my own business. And I kept checking doors. And one of the doors into the arena was propped open. So I pulled open the door. I was able to get just a brief taste of Allen Fieldhouse. At that point, again, in my 20s, I was a little bit nervous that I was going to get caught and thrown in jail. And so I didn't stay very long, but, and gosh, it might have even been pre-smartphones where you could take pictures, but I did open the door. I saw the team out there on the court. It definitely had the character of an older arena, and it was just my story to tell about sneaking into Allen Fieldhouse. So I have been to all three, but very unique circumstances for each of them.
I don't have, two things. I am still, I always call it Fog Allen still for some reason, but Allen Fieldhouse has always been just on my bucket list forever.
Oh, for sure.
I also, I don't know why, I've been to a lot of, a decent amount of college basketball games, and everywhere I've gone, even as visiting fans, those Kansas Jayhawks fans are some of the best. It's just, so I've always wanted to be there and actually enjoy it, like in that atmosphere. I looked it up though, just to see. That Big 12 championship game, it was 27 degrees at kickoff. So
that's not even wind chills, right?
Yeah.
Not even wind chills.
Yeah. So it was pretty cold that night. So I see why you moved up to the press box. One we got off the Facebook page from Jeff. It's kind of a two-parter, but I thought it was pretty interesting. Have you ever been on other people's podcasts? But also, what are your favorites to listen to?
Oh, good question. Yes, I've done a lot of podcasts. My friend Jessica Kleinschmidt, who was on the show Monday, she's had me on her podcast. She did one for Awful Announcing for a few years. And so when I left my last job after almost 13 years, I gave her the scoop, if you will, and did her podcast first and explained why I had left. Also, another one of the podcasts that I've done multiple times that I really enjoy is Sports Spectrum. And it's an intersection of faith faith and sports. And so my good friend, my longtime friend, former ESPN colleague of mine, Jason Romano, started this podcast, but also it's Matt Forte now. And so Matt Forte, the former NFL running back, Bears running back, he and Jason host it together. Sometimes Matt will host it solo. And what stands out to me about my last appearance on their podcast is not only that we were able to talk about faith, but also that Matt has an adoption story in his family. And at this point, my husband and I were very early in the adoption process, and to get the encouragement from him and to hear his story and what a blessing adoption has been to his family really encouraged me. And right after that, I was diving into research, and my husband and I were figuring out which agency we wanted to work with and how we wanted to approach the adoption process. So those are two more recent appearances that I've made. But yeah, I get requests to be on podcasts a lot, and I think it's fun. I don't always love to do it on video. Sometimes it used to be that you could say, I'm just going to do audio, but you can't really do that anymore. David Shepard, another colleague of mine that I worked with at the network, he's got a new podcast on YouTube. And so I've been on his podcast as well. What are some that I watch and listen to? That is a great question. I believe it or not, I listen and watch more. Actually, I'll run when I listen to podcasts. And since I haven't been running outside much at all this summer in Texas, I really haven't done a lot of that lately. But I will listen to podcasts that are political in nature. I don't even think I need to tell you which ones, but I'll listen to some podcasts of people that I enjoy. We'll keep politics out of this, but I do enjoy hearing different podcasts that I feel like I can identify with, and hey, those people have the same views as me. I also like true crime podcasts, and so I will listen to those. Now, some of them, they cross over into the scary, and so I don't need to be watching or listening to them. But yeah, true crime is one. And then history podcasts. You ever seen those podcasts like Where Did It Come From? Or the origins type of a question that you might ask about history. How was it made? That kind of thing. So big into history. I enjoy those. I've recently delved into a book on tape, though I'm not sure it's my thing, but I'm trying it. It's a Jack Carr novel. He's a former Navy SEAL sniper who's turned very prolific author. And so I enjoy reading his books too. And I accidentally got one from the library that was the audio book as opposed to the actual book with the binding. And so I've been listening to it. We'll see if I stick with that while I'm driving.
I was going to ask if that went off into audiobooks too. So I'm glad you kind of took that there. I found myself, the older I get, for some reason, I am able to. Used to, I couldn't be able to sit down and do other things while I would listen to audiobooks. But the nonfiction does seem to help, and it does feel very much like a podcast.
Yeah.
Another comment we got on Facebook, this one from David: where would you like to visit for hiking? And have you ever been to Yosemite?
Yosemite is on our bucket list. Thank you so much for asking. Yes, my husband and I, we are big fans of national parks. And so I got him a national park pass for our anniversary last December, and we've been trying to use it. Our most recent hike, excuse me, not sure why I'm being a frog today. Our most recent hike was in Colorado, and it was in the area of, they call it Buena Vista, I call it Buena Vista, but the area where there are more than a dozen 14,000 foot peaks, and they call them 14ers. It's really it's the Ivy League range, the collegiate range, actually. They're named after a bunch of Ivy League schools. And so we were able to get up to over 12,000 feet, and we were right there. We could have, at the time, my husband was still recovering from shoulder surgery, and so he had a sling. So it's going to be kind of tough to start scaling rocks up to 14,000 feet, but we do plan to go back and do that. So that was our most recent. Yosemite as well as Yellowstone are both on our bucket list. And one of the benefits, as much as I miss the ocean, I miss the Atlantic, I miss being within driving distance of mountains. There's not a lot of that in Texas. You got to drive for what feels like 2 days in Texas to get out of the state. But I do love the fact that we're closer to some of these mountain ranges and mountain peaks in the West, and of course the Rocky Mountain range. So being in Colorado most recently was kind of fun. We were able to see Pikes Peak because I've got a friend that lives in Colorado Springs, and we went to visit her for dinner. So yeah, I think Colorado will probably be because it's only about a 15-hour drive. We love road trips. It'll probably be a place that we frequent, and then we can get into some of these other hikes. I know that my husband would like to go camping. He and my brother are big into camping, and they could do some Colorado camping. Plus, even in June, the temps were in the mid 40s at night in this area of Colorado, and I was in heaven. We had windows open to sleep with the temps down in the mid 40s. So Yosemite and Yellowstone, as well as, believe it or not, I've never been to Mount Rushmore, and we want to do that drive up to South Dakota and see Mount Rushmore. So we've got a lot now on our list because we feel like more of it is accessible. But also in March, is it late March? Late March, we went to visit some family in Arizona, and my husband and I did the Bright Angel Trail at the Grand Canyon, even though they're experiencing record heat this summer, and it was in the 90s that day, so it was hot in the canyon, but we managed to trudge our way back up. And so that was kind of our those were two of our recent challenging hikes.
Gotcha. All of that sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's good.
I was trying to find one more. We have one from Frank, and did you ever get a horse? Is there more backstory to that?
Well, because we're in Texas now, because my husband and I are both horse lovers, we go horseback riding for anniversaries and on vacation and stuff. I have told people that we are at some point planning to get a horse here, and we haven't done it yet. So this is kind of what we've decided. Adoption first. Horse is down the road at some point somewhere. And I don't know that you could have just one. Horses, cows, they're herd animals. So Hubs would like to get chickens and actually goats to help with some of the mowing. I would like to have some cows because I love cows and I love beef. And so we're kind of going back and forth, and we circle around what animals should we try first. But we definitely will have animals. We've got cranes and herons that are in our pond. We've got a lot of turtles. We've got raccoons, deer, wild hogs, and coyotes that all go through the back of our property. So it's not just our property. We don't have a ton of acreage, but we do have got some wooded acres back in the back. And so we get all of these animals that come through. And so we're just trying to figure out, what animals we would like to raise in addition to dogs. Probably, to be perfectly honest, our next step would be a barn cat, because I miss having a cat, and we're going to need a barn cat for the mice that are in pretty much every Texas barn, right? So that might be our next animal.
I'm just going to use this as a little story of my own. We had goats growing up too. And they are fantastic. Yeah. And they are fantastic of keeping the yard short, but we had fainting goats. So if a loud noise was made by them, they just kind of fall over on their side. They literally just,
Wait, is that a way to protect themselves, or they actually faint?
It's not I can't think it's a real faint, because after they do, it would never take them too long to kind of get back up and walk. So I think it's more of a protection thing. But the funny thing is we had to raise one of them from a baby on, and then we introduced her back in there. And so all of them would hear something loud, and all of them would fall down, and she would just be looking around at them like, what in the world's going on?
What's happening? She wasn't taught the proper way to faint at loud noises.
She wasn't.
Oh my gosh, they're floppers. Your goats were floppers.
They were. they were big Manu Ginobili fans. So another one that we got on Facebook from John is, have you found any good Italian food in Texas?
No. So growing up in the Northeast and being Italian food is really important to me. I'm sure there are good Italian restaurants, but I'll be honest, I'm a little bit reluctant to try an Italian restaurant in Texas, only because I don't want to be disappointed. So I haven't yet done that. We found a Thai place, actually a couple of Thai places, to kind of stand in for my favorite Thai place in New Jersey. We definitely have steakhouses that we've enjoyed, Mexican food, obviously, authentic Mexican food in Texas, barbecue, yes. Not yet having found either a Greek restaurant or an Italian restaurant. So if anyone has any suggestions in the Houston area, actually, we might even drive to go to a good Italian restaurant, because I miss it. So right now, Italian food is when I make it, or when we make it here in the house. We don't have as much of that around. So blah.
What is your, sorry, just because you said I wanted to ask then, what is your your key dish that you make then? If you win, like what is Amy's best made dish?
Gotcha. Well, I do love arrabbiata, which is a red marinara spicy sauce. And so last night we did penne and arrabbiata sauce with also shrimp. My mom's jumbo shrimp because she was staying here. So jumbo shrimp and broccoli. And then we had some roasted peppers. So yeah, I like to throw a lot of different foods into the pot as opposed to just your spaghetti. And I rarely do spaghetti. I guess every now and then I do spaghetti. We also love to do seafood with our pasta. So at Christmas time, so Christmas Eve, you have the 7 fishes for Italians. A lot of families do the 7 fishes. We don't always get to 7. Sometimes we only do 5, but we'll do a squid sauce. So a linguine with clam sauce, and then do a squid sauce in a marinara, which is delicious as well. My brother is great at making his homemade pasta sauce. I found a couple out of a jar that I think are pretty close. But yeah, the spicier, the better in my family. If you add red pepper flakes to your sauce or throw just a bunch of different stuff into a pot and turn it into a big old pasta, it fills you up pretty quickly. It's delish. So yeah, thanks for asking. I got good food, Italian and Polish. Those are my 2 foods. So pierogies and sauerkraut, kielbasa and brats. Yum. That brings back a lot of memories from summers in Wisconsin when I was a kid. I'm going to answer one more before we get to a break because it cracks me up. On our Facebook page, Chris says, have you adapted to a normal daylight schedule since being off the air? It's funny. You take for granted that people know what you're doing and that they follow along, but that's not really the case. And so that's why I'm still very much in this spread the word mode, because I've not been off the air. I was maybe off the air for 4 weeks before I jumped into SiriusXM, and also between Mad Dog Radio and NFL Radio, and then Westwood One voice work and doing some shows for them, some studio work for them, Houston local radio. I definitely have not been off the air. Now, it's been an atypical, unconventional schedule, but I was only off the air for a month, and he's asking me, have I adapted to a daylight schedule now that I'm off the air, as here I am doing a show. So I guess he's not seen the previous Facebook posts about the new show and being back in this space and trying something new, this new challenge. So that made me laugh. But the question is essentially, have you adapted to a daylight schedule? Yes. I mean, I've stopped doing overnights going back to February of 2025. So being a nocturnal night owl type of person, I'll stay up late. I'll read sometimes. I'll do some research, or I'll be watching a show after my husband's already gone to bed, or I'm working late night. So some of the SiriusXM shows I do, they go until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. But yes, I am adapting now to being awake and being bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and figuring out how to be a morning person. I'm not so good at it, so the coffee comes in very handy. The vat of coffee comes in very handy. Thank you so much for your questions. We'll keep it going, and it'll be every Wednesday, every hump day here on All In. Love that we're able to kind of give you a taste of life beyond the microphone, if you will. Coming up, I'm pretty sure you're going to see this headline all over, whether it be a sports scroll or a news site or on the tube. Yeah, it's going to make a lot of headlines. That's the way it goes these days with the WNBA. It's All In with Amy Lawrence. Our thanks to Waco Surf and their partnership with us in our first month. Appreciate them working with Rogue Media Network. Matt the Musher said to me yesterday, man, that Waco Surf looks and sounds super cool. Yeah, well, if you're not close to an ocean and it takes hours to get to any body of water, Waco Surf's a great option for a getaway. Labor Day weekend's coming up, so you can go. You can stay in the hotel or a private cabin. They've got the pools. They've got the wave parks. It definitely is necessary in the heat of the Southwest, too. So thank you to Waco Surf for being part of what we're doing here on YouTube and Rogue Media Network.
Some Summer isn't over yet. Make every last splash count at Waco Surf. Catch perfect waves, float the lazy river, or relax on the beach while the kids make unforgettable memories. Stay in their hotel or private cabins, or hook up with your RV. Located just 90 miles from Dallas and Austin, set on 450 acres in the heart of Texas, Waco Surf is unlike any other water park around. Before school starts, give your family one more epic adventure. WacoSurf.com. Book your stay today and catch a wave.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Providence. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Farmhound's approach is a little different than a traditional treat company. We get to work with local farmers who are putting everything they can into regenerative farming. From the soil to the animals to the ecosystem. They care about how animals are raised and how we treat the earth. It's not just product, but it's part of that story. It's connected to just a whole lot more.
I recently called Sophie Cunningham the It Girl, WNBA member of the Fever, teammate of Caitlin Clark's, and obviously not afraid of making waves. She's got her own podcast, though forgive me for not knowing the name of that, but she's pretty open about her views, as you may now know. But also, she's a darn good basketball player, and she's been through a lot in the league. She feels like she has some experience that she can share, and she does not take herself too seriously. She's a huge goofball. You'll see her. There's videos out there. Just she gets highlighted by the Fever social media account for some of the pranks that she plays and how she and Caitlin get along. So there's a lot of facets to Sophie Cunningham. But right now, as the It Girl, she's been in Sports Illustrated, the swimsuit issue. She is a bit of a fashionista, likes to show up in new outfits, and they kind of do a red carpet walk, if you will, for these women as they show up for their games and highlight, how they dress, kind of like a Russell Westbrook, right? And the fact that he would want to break the internet with his clothes that he would wear to the start of each game. So Sophie is in this space where everything she says and does makes headlines, and she is fearless. She is unafraid, whether it's protecting her teammates or whether it's speaking out about her opinions, even if they go against the grain. And there are some people that appreciate that about her. There are others that wish she would fall in line a little more. Well, here's the latest headline that you're going to see, and I hope that you will take the time to read the whole article. because I'm doing this on the fly, I haven't read the entire USA Today article, but there is a profile that's been published by USA Today, which goes into a lot of the various facets of Sophie Cunningham, both on the court and off the court. And it's one of those articles that she did back in February in which she stated that she has love for everyone, but she believes that women's basketball should be for girls and women. And as you know, that set off this big firestorm where I even talked about it yesterday, but it's been a catalyst, if you will, for not just discussions in the WNBA, but also for various dominoes to drop where some people have reacted poorly to that, to that statement by Sophie Cunningham. So it's really put the WNBA under a white hot microscope so that they're forced to not only consider their own policies, but make sure that they are approaching their fans and players in a way that's equal and inclusive. Okay. So a lot of that was sparked by Sophie's comments. I bet the WNBA was hoping they wouldn't have to address this publicly. And a lot of the players and coaches don't really want to answer the question of trans athletes being part of the WNBA. So that's been a lot since Sophie's comments were made public and went viral. Well, here's something else now as she does this column or this article with USA Today. She talks about the commissioner. And again, I hope that you'll read the whole thing and not just focus on the quotes that are making headlines or the quotes that are eye-catching and eye-popping. But she did get asked about the WNBA leadership and Commissioner Kathy Engelbert. I have indicated, many people around the media space are indicating that the WNBA needs a change at the top. Engelbert, she's seen this transition into the year number 30 with the WNBA, in which the league is now making money for the first time. They've got brand new media contracts. Obviously, the Fever with Caitlin Clark get a ton of attention. They've expanded their playoffs. They've moved games to arenas where they can sell more tickets. Their athletes are now making a lot more money because of the new labor deal. So there are a lot of positive ways that the WNBA has grown under the leadership of Kathy Engelbert. But what I've said over and over is that she and her office, her staff, were not prepared for what also comes with making money and being in a spotlight, is that a lot of your policies, your officiating, a lot of the ways that you deal with fans and or the employees, the players, these things also come under a microscope, and you get a lot of criticism and backlash when your PR principles or your PR practices are not quite up to the task of handling a lot of extra attention. So there are a bunch of ways where I feel like the WNBA was not prepared for this explosion of attention in year number 30. And it's been building now for a couple of years, but people are all in on criticizing the WNBA. Right now, it's kind of the easiest target, if you will, in sports. And so here is Sophie Cunningham, who's saying the WNBA needs this is her word, bold commissioner who wants the best for the players and not maybe for themselves. And she goes on to say that Engelbert's current vision does not align with where our league is trying to go. I got to go back and read and get the context for these Sophie Cunningham comments. I'm sure she was asked about the WNBA's leadership. Well, Engelbert's contract is about to expire. In fact, after the 2026 season, it may be that the league has a brand new commissioner because she's wrapping up year number 7. She's on an expiring deal. I don't know if she'll be re-signed, but I do know that there needs to be stronger, more committed leadership at the top of the WNBA, and that starts with the commissioner. She gets paid a lot of extra money. Her name and her face and her voice are in the spotlight because the buck stops with her. So Engelbert has been singled out and has been criticized by members of the league. This is not Sophie standing out here on her own limb or, going out on a limb by herself. Going back to the negotiations last winter and then even into the spring, there are a lot of players, Breanna Stewart and others, who criticized the leadership of Kathy Engelbert. Now, that's part of the give and take of labor negotiations, the players union versus the owners. And there's a bunch of, it's kind of like an election, right? Where you get the two sides taking pot shots at the other. And it's not always full of grace, and it's certainly not always kindness. And sometimes it can get downright nasty. Well, yeah, there was some of that when the union wasn't happy with the proposals they were getting from the owners. And even though Engelbert is essentially a CEO and works for the owners, she takes a lot of those rotten tomatoes that are thrown at her. And so Sophie goes on to say, again, not the only one who's said it, it's just the latest one, and it's Sophie Cunningham. You do have to have a person in power who is bold, who is confident. So I feel like as a whole, that could be a position, referring to commissioner, that's maybe open at the end of the year, but that's not my call. Yep, that's going to make some headlines. No doubt. And I will be more informed when we come together on Thursday because I will have read the whole article by then. Cunningham, this is probably going to get lost, but Cunningham did praise the commissioner for doing, quote, a lot of good things, but also said the league needs a commissioner who will support players seeking to be trailblazers of what women's leagues can look like. And this is a precarious position right now for the WNBA, again, because of all the attention, because of the white hot spotlight. It comes with being a league that has something to offer. It's good if you're making headlines and you're in the spotlight, because if you're irrelevant and very few people pay any attention to you and your athletes aren't making headlines and people aren't following your games and they're not buying tickets, they're not investing in your league, well, that's worse. So I don't think the league was ready for this, but I do think that this is a great opportunity for the WNBA. You've got labor peace, so to speak. You've got a lot of extra attention. You've got athletes that are making headlines. You've got some great stories and teams and superstars in the making in the league. The attention isn't firmly focused on basketball, that we know, but could there be this major shift with a change in leadership? And as Sophie is pointing out, someone who's got a vision, someone who has a plan and a not necessarily a blueprint, but can map out where the league wants to go and how we get there. And maybe some of the crap will fall by the wayside. And Cunningham, I mean, she's talking about the fact that it's a hard position to be in, right? Us as players, we always want more because we see how good it can be. And she's referring to watching what happens with the NBA players. And so she is at least giving Engelbert credit, but saying we need a trailblazer of what women's leagues can look like. And she said, I feel like you just want someone who also wants that, wants to be a trailblazer, wants to find the right path for us to get where we want to go. So maybe Engelbert has reached the end of what she can do or the end of her effectiveness. Sometimes there needs to be a fresh voice with a new vision, different eyes and ears that can figure out a way for both sides to collaborate effectively, but also has a bold, grand scheme, right? Brainstorming outside the box. Where can we go if we really put our minds and our money behind a particular plan? And actually, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, he's the part, he's the guy, he's the role. He's plays the part of deciding exactly what happens next. So another tricky offseason, another offseason that could bring transition and change for the WNBA. But I promise you that Sophie Cunningham, speaking to USA Today and indicating that maybe they need new leadership and a new commissioner, that's going to be a headline all over the place on this Wednesday. I'm glad we got to it before the show wrapped up. I like the fact that she's got a big vision and that the players themselves are looking down the road and believing we can be so much more. The league can do so much more. But the space where the league is right now, this is going to make some waves. Yes, it is. Sophie is not afraid of making waves. Glad to have you with us on this hump day. I hope as you cruise downhill toward the weekend, you've got some joy from hanging out with us, watching our show, or listening to it after the fact. Love to connect with you on social media. We also always go back and look at the comments that are made during the live YouTube stream. Thanks for hanging out with us. It makes my day, and I hope it makes your day a little better too, plus the exuberance from Fernando Mendoza. We'll talk to you on Thursday, YouTube and Rogue Media Network.